Hey guys, how's it going? This is Siri, and today we're going to be diving into our first C++ program. I'm really excited. So let's just get started. So, the first thing you do before you write like any of your actual code, right? Your actual program or commands, which is what programming's all about, right? Yeah, before you do any of that, you're gonna need to do something called include, something called IOStream, okay? And this is just for the header information. Don't pay attention to that just yet. We'll talk about this in more detail in another video. So just take these like first two lines for granted right now. Okay, the next line you're gonna need is using namespace. Okay, std. Okay, don't worry about that. Again, one thing you're gonna need to know is that like you're gonna need to write all of your real code and real programs in this main method, main function. Okay, this is gonna be the return type, then main, and then let's just print something out to the screen. Let's do the traditional Hello World program in C++. So the first thing that you do is you write cout. Okay, do some arrows pointing towards the cout. Use some quotations. Okay, first thing every programmer does for the first time is Hello World. Okay, you can do it in any language, and today we're going to be doing it in C++. So yeah, let's do that, and end L, which stands for end line. And before we talk about what this is actually doing, let's just, run this. And by the way, in order to run this, you're going to need to install, like if you're using Visual Studio Code, you're going to need to install the C++ extension, and if you want to run it, which I'm sure you will, I'm sure you want to, you're going to also need to install CodeRunner or anything else that's going to run your code with this one click. Okay, so I'm going to click on Run Code in Visual Studio Code, and we see in the terminal, Hello World. And by the way, if you don't change a setting in Visual Studio Code, you can use any IDE you want. But I'm just going to be using Visual Studio Code in my videos. So if you want to get your output in a terminal instead of like the output here, which I would definitely recommend, because when we go into future videos, we're going to be talking about like inputs, user inputs, and you're going to want to input some data as someone who's using or interacting with your program, and this output here doesn't let you do that because it's read-only. Okay, great. So let's talk about what this is actually doing. This is a pretty simple program, but there's a lot going behind the scenes here. So if you take a look at the first thing we wrote, okay, inside the main, we wrote cout. And cout stands for console output. Okay, and the console is just this great little box here at the bottom where all your output's gonna come out. Okay, and what we're doing here is we're printing something to the screen. Printing just means displaying to the screen here. You're not actually printing something out. We're just showing the text Hello World in the console. So that's what cout does. And right after that, we see some arrows, right? And for something called cin, which allows the user to input their own values, the arrows are going to be pointing in a different direction. And the reason why the arrows are pointing towards this direction, towards the left in this case, is because we're outputting something to the screen. We're not doing an input, we're doing an output. And the great way to remember it is like if you have this text here and it's pointing towards the C out. It's pointing towards the console output. And you also see here that it's going from like left to right. And maybe you'll see it better in another example. For example, if we have C out, and let's just type in my name, Siri, and then some other stuff, and then like end line. End line just lets the next output that you want to display to the screen be on the next line. Like if you didn't have that, yeah, let's see what it's gonna be like if we don't have it. We're gonna delete it right after, I promise. So end L, and let's say my address, like 123 any street. I'm not gonna be specific here, but okay, any street, and end line. Okay, it's like a stream, you see, like that's what it's called, like a stream operator. Like it's a stream of output. And somewhere. Okay. Somewhere MA 99999. Okay. And also, remember, there needs to be a semicolon at the end of any statement. Okay. Let's run this. And I didn't save it. Okay, you always need to save. If you're on a Mac, it's going to be Command S. See, it only printed hello world. Okay, let's clear this. Okay, and you see the Siri, the 123, anything, any street, and somewhere MA, like they came on separate lines. Now, if you got rid of it and kept it here, save it and run, you see hello world and Siri 123 any streets on the same line. So that's why if you want to go to the next line for your next output, you're gonna need an end L or end line. Okay, so that's what's going on here. And one thing you should know is that spaces don't really matter in C++. Like, you can, as long as it knows that there's more coming, like if you press enter, I'm going to save it and run, you're not going to see any error like you would in a language like Python or something else where spaces and indents do matter. Here it doesn't. You can just put spaces wherever you want, put tabs wherever you want, but that's generally not recommended because it really hurts the readability of your program. And so if someone else wants to come in and look at your code, it's not going to be that neat. It's going to be very messy. So I would recommend, like, you don't see it in this program, but once we start getting to like if statements or for loops and things like that, all that good stuff, indents, and your curly braces and whatnot, they're going to be important for your readability. So spaces don't matter in C++, but you do need a semicolon at the end of a statement. So like this doesn't matter, but if you get rid of the semicolon, it's going to be a problem. You see the red here, but when you put the semicolon, everything's good. And it's important because spaces don't matter, right? You're gonna, C++ and the compiler is gonna need to know, right, like when your command ends, when's the end of the first command? And yeah, that's important, so you're gonna need a semicolon at the end. Yeah, maybe like one last thing I would want to cover in this video is the fact that C++, like you need a compiler, like to compile your code and put this nice human-friendly code into something that a machine can understand. Java's like that too, but a language like Python, it's not. It just compiles as it goes. Like it doesn't have a separate step for compiling and turning this nice and human-friendly code into like zeros and ones, which a machine can understand. Yeah, so C++ is that kind of language. So yeah, we talked about how to print something to the screen. We talked about like how cout is console output and why the direction of these arrows, they matter. And we just did like a nice little example. In my next video, there's going to be a lot more interesting stuff. We're going to get into like variables and input and some other fun stuff. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something from it. And yeah, see you next time. Have fun. Thank you so much.